This is a 240Z fender that's essentially trashed, so I'm going to use this as my test panel. And what the object here is to make sure and to verify that what I am doing on the car as far as all the painting goes is going to come out correct. So I'm going to take this, a section of this, not all of it, but a section of it down to bare metal, fix some minor dents and stuff like that just to get some filler on there, and then build it all back up with epoxy primers and build primers and everything else that I'm going to use on Dorothy, the actual car, to see if I have my technique down all right, all the way, take it all the way through base coat, clear coat, and see how it ends up. So I'm going to go ahead now and take a certain section of this down to bare metal and then start from there. Strip down a pretty large area, sizable area, down to bare metal, and then hit it with an 80 grit DA sander. There is already some body filler on here, but it looks like fiberglass filler. You can kind of see it's pretty nasty. So I do intend to get filler on here only just so that I have it on here, because I know there's parts on Dorothy that have it, and I just want to test that to make sure that I've been handling that correctly. So I'll get 2 wet coats of epoxy primer on here before I do anything else as far as continuing on. And then it'll be a couple days before I can get back to it. 2 wet coats on the Z fender. I had a little bit of fisheyeing up here. Came out alright, not my best coverage and all that, but it'll work. So next up here will be a little bit of filler work and stuff like that just to get some on there, and then build primer. So the next step, now that it's painted, the epoxy's cured, what I'm going to do is start blocking. So I've got 150 grit and a 200 grit on a hard block. Not concerned necessarily with trying to make this perfectly straight. Like I mentioned, this is just a proof of procedure to see how my painting goes. I would probably use longer blocks if I was trying to block out this large an area and get it nice and flat. Again, I'm not that concerned about that. I'm just trying to get some of this blocked out and get some of the 80 grit scratches out of here and some of the other inconsistencies. If I can find a dent or something like that, hopefully I will. An area that needs a little bit of filler, I'll put some filler on there as well, because it's ready for filler with the epoxy on there. But I'm just going to go ahead and get the blocking. Alright, out to 220. Blocked out, and I got 2 low spots. Thankfully, you can see that darker paint there, so I'm just going to fill them. I Like I said, I'm not trying to make this thing flat. I'm just going to put some filler on there so I have some filler on here. And then essentially after that, I'll work that filler down and get that blocked and smoothed. And then it'll be time to get another round of epoxy primer on here. Got the filler on there. I'll let that cure up and block it out. Z fender has been blocked out through 220 grit. And then I took a red Scotch-Brite pad to it. So the next step for the Z fender is to get it back into 2 wet coats of epoxy primer, and then after that, block that out real quick just to see if there's any gross stuff, which I don't expect. But then after that will be build primer. In keeping to going with the fender here, I've got 2 wet coats of epoxy primer on here, and that's post filler work. So this will just sit now, and the next step here is to block it out 220, 320, and then red scuff pad. And then I'll do build primer.